Matthew chapter 5, verses 33 to 37. Jesus teaches on oaths. And the word that we are going to feature is number 3727, oaths. The highlighted words are going to be the Greek grammatical structure for this section. You can see I've highlighted quite a bit here, and pretty much here's how it works out. The underlined words in the green are adverbs. The red are particles, and the blue prepositions down here, and that would be the underline. Then we go into the solid highlighted words, and we have the red is the nominative. We had that in the past. Orange, a genitive. Possession. The nominative is the subject. The possession of, is of the car of mine. And the green is the dative. To the, or in the, is the dative indirect object. And the gray is the accusative. The man went to the store, and the store would be the accusative. And we also have in the blue, when there's a compound word that has a preposition at the beginning, we have the preposition highlighted with the blue. With that, we'll go into the text itself. In 33, it says, Palin ikusate oti erethi tis archeis. Again, Palin. Now, that is an adverb. It's always spelled the same. All the adverbs are spelled the same, one or two exceptions. Same with the preposition. They're always spelled the same, except for when the last letter is a vowel, with the following word starting with a vowel, then the last vowel on the first word is elated with a little apostrophe mark put there. So again, the answer is time. You have heard that, and that's a particle. It was said, and now here is the subject, the indirect object. It was said to. You would be the subject, and that's part of the verb. It was said to the ancients, and that's the indirect object. And here is what was said. Uk epiorchesis, you shall not, and I've crossed this out and put in forswear, an old English word. Forswear is probably in the King James. It's a very good word to be using here. You shall not forswear. And this word only appears, 1964, only appears one place in the New Testament, and this is it. So when you have a word like that, then you have to go to the dictionary rather than looking in the Old Testament to see how it's used in the context in the Old Testament. So if I went to the Old Testament, looked up 1964, and it had 20 places, and it shows you how it was used, you'd have a good idea in the New Testament how it's used. But with it only appearing once in the Bible, and this is the place, then dictionaries are the remedy. And I have right here is a Parkhurst Greek and English lexicon to the New Testament by Parkhurst in 1829. And it's a great lexicon. I don't know if you could ever get a copy of it. I'm sure you can use theological bookstores. There's one in Colorado Springs, which is run by a man named Eddie, who I've dealt with for many years. He may have one. And in there, Parkhurst, it says, for this word, epiorcheo is the root word, the epiorcheo, the verb, and it says, to not perform what you swear. to swear falsely. That is, forswear, swear repeatedly, which doesn't mean or perjure yourself. You shall not forswear, swear falsely. Apodosis they to kyrio tus orcus su, but shall render. Now this is a verb, but it's a compound verb, as this one. You have epi, which is a preposition upon, so swearing upon or forswear. Apodosis, but shall render. Apo is giving out something from, and then the postpositive, but, the they, then the indirect object, to the Lord. You shall render to the Lord, what? Tus orcus su, your oaths. And this is in the accusative, as is the noun that follows, but I only am featuring the article here, which we've already went through. So you shall render to the Lord your oaths. Not to swear falsely. And orcus is an oath. Now, people people being myself, confuse a vow with an oath. And here we're talking about oaths, not vows. A vow is number 2171 of key. And it's a conditional word. It has conditions on you have to do something for something to happen. A series of actions. There's quite a bit in the Bible on vows, way more than there is on oaths. In Genesis 28:20, it says, "And Jacob vowed a vow, saying, if the Lord God should be with me," there's the condition, "and should guard me in this journey which I go, and should give to me bread to eat, and a cloak to put on, and will return me with safety unto the house of my father, and the Lord will be to me for God, that this stone which I set up as a monument will be to me a house of God." I think that was Bethel. So there's the condition. If I do this, and this is going to happen. There are sacrifices that are tied into the vows. Then vowing has to do with certain, like sacrifices and certain actions, not shaving your head. And we talks about that and says that a razor shall not come upon his head, the person doing the vow. And that's in Numbers 6:5. A confirmation of a vow of a woman depends on the father or husband, who can nullify a woman or a wife's vow, and that's in Numbers 30.3. I'm pointing out the difference because a lot of people, including myself, get them mixed up. And fulfilling a vow, we've seen that with Paul returning to Jerusalem, where he was met by the brethren in Jerusalem who told him to take a couple of people and pay for their vows. And I think you didn't cut your hair, but then after the vow you did cut your hair, and so forth. You can read about vows other places, but right now we're not really into vows, even though I brought it out. We're into oaths. And an oath is, right down here, 37:27. It's a confirmation of something. It's a singular action. You give an oath, swear upon an oath, that's it. You don't do anything else. In Genesis 26:3, it says, "And I will establish my oath, which I swore to Abraham, your father." And this was to Isaac. God established his oath. Genesis 26:33, it says, "And he called it Oath." And that's a city. On account of this, he called the name of that city Well of the Oath until today's day. And that's the city of Beersheba down in the Negev. Exodus 13:19, it says, "And Moses took the bones of Joseph with him," when he left Egypt, "for with an oath Joseph bound the sons of Israel, saying, with a visit the Lord will visit you, and you shall join in carrying off my bones from here with you. So he bound them by an oath, and they swore. And then in Numbers 5:21 it says, and the priest shall bind the woman by the oaths of this imprecation. If she went there if her husband accused her of adultery and these things, and she would go to the temple, and the priest would tell her all the bad things that are going to happen if she's lying, and she makes an oath that she's not lying, and that sets the oath, binds the oath. And then in Matthew 14:7 it says, whereupon with an oath he acknowledged to give to her whatever she asked. And this was Herod the king, who had Salome dance, and he acknowledged to give her the head of John the Baptist by an oath. He made an oath. Acts 2:30 it says, a prophet then being, this is David, and knowing that God swore to him an oath, that is of the fruit of his loin, that one ascending according to the flesh, to raise up the Christ to sit upon his throne. So that was an oath by God. God swore by an oath to David. Hebrews 6:7 it says, in which God, more extra, wanting to display to the heirs of the promise the immutability of his counsel, mediated by an oath. Again, he gave an oath that he was going to do it. He didn't have to, of course, but he did it to make it more, it says, extra wanting to display. So the immutability of his counsel. And then in James, it says, but before all things, my brothers, do not swear by an oath, neither by the heaven, nor the earth, nor any other oath, but let your yes be yes, and your no be no. So now we see the oaths. Again, you have heard that it was said to the ancients, you shall not forswear, but shall render to the Lord your orkus. In 34, but I, ego, they, lego, mean, but I say to you. Ego is the ego, I. They is a postpositive. It goes in the front, but I. And then the leg, saying, remember I was mentioning it before, the lambda, epsilon, gamma, that's a verb, but leg, when you see the leg, it has something to do with speech. But I say to you, and that's a pronoun, me, omose, olos, to not swear by an oath wholly, completely. Me is a adverb, not, and the to goes along with this verb here too, swear by an oath, and the me makes it into the negative, to swear by an oath, wholly, and that's another adverb. It's always olos, and holy, olo, holy, almost a transliteration there. So Jesus says to not swear by an oath wholly on anything. And to swear by an oath in Genesis 22:16, now we're in the third word. The first word was forswear, and then oath, and now swear by an oath. Three separate words. In Genesis 22:16, it says, according to myself I swear by an oath, says the Lord, because of which you did this matter, and you spared to your beloved son on account of me. That was to Abraham. He's swearing by an oath. Matthew 14:71, it says about Peter, and he began to devote to consumption and to swear by an oath that I have not known this man of whom you speak. When Jesus was taken prisoner and Peter was in the courtyard by the fire. And then in Hebrews 6:16 it says, "For men indeed swear an oath by the greater, and the oath is an end for security in all disputes to them." You go to court or someplace, get married, swear by an oath, I'm going to do this. Put your hand on the Bible or whatever you put it on anymore. I don't know what you would put your hand on to swear by an oath. Now, I don't know if people still do that or not, or if the courts require that or not. I think I've heard with some people, the Muslims, they swear on a Koran, and other people could, I don't know, swear on a Johnny Mathis record or something that they think that that's something worthy to be swearing upon, but best thing is not to. And it continues then in verse 34, "Ego they lego emin, but I say to you again, to not swear upon an oath holy, and neither mete," which is neither. I have nor here, but the first one I think it would be neither is better. Neither on, and mete is a particle, and in is a preposition, and then the indirect object to heaven. In, you should not, neither in heaven, or on sounds better in English, but on generally is epi, which is upon something, the preposition upon, but on here, or in the heaven. If you were in the heaven, that means you would be in there, and that doesn't sound good too. So, on the heaven, and that indirect object, oti, particle, oti thronos esti to theou. I didn't highlight that. That should be orange, like this one too, of God. For it is the throne of God. So don't swear on heaven. People could have sworn, I'm swearing on heaven that I didn't do this or I did do this. No, don't swear on it because it's the throne of God. It's not something to be swearing on. You don't have any control over the heaven. Mete, particle, preposition, indirect object, nor on the earth. Just as this one. Oti, particle. Now here's another compound verb with the preposition under. For it is a footstool. The idea with podion, a pod, is a foot, tripod, 3 feet under. A footstool because it's under your foot. Podion, of God's feet, the earth is. Or by Jerusalem. Now, here I changed it to nor because it sounds better in English. Start out with neither. Say, but I say to you to not swear by an oath holy, nor upon, because nor generally means there's something before. What would the nor be? So neither sounds better, but I say to you to not swear by an oath holy, neither not on the heaven. And that's the first part of the structure. And the next one's nor on the earth, nor by Jerusalem. And that's in a preposition with the particle. Another particle, for, and it's tying them in. It's a conjunction. For, Jerusalem, for it is, there's the st is the verb, it is a city. The is not in there, is no article. For it is a city, or the city. I put the, italicize it when it's not, the Greek doesn't have the word. There's no article there. For it is the city, too, is a genitive of the great king. Jerusalem is the city of the great king. So don't swear on it. And then it continues, nor, particle, preposition, indirect object, nor on your head. Omosos. Mite ente kephali su omosis. Nor should you, nor on your head should you swear by an oath. And there's that swearing by an oath. I'm not sure how I pronounce that in Greek, but if I didn't, I'll do it now. Oti polis esti to megalu vasileos. Nor on your head should you swear by an oath. Oti u dinase mian trika levkin imelenan piise. An oti is another conjunction for u is an adverb. You are not able, and you are not able. The not is the u, and the u is in the is in this verb. In the you are not able to make. Say one trika. We have trichinosis, a problem with the hair, disease of the hair. Levkin, leukemia, white blood cells. Levkin are melanin, melancholy, melon, black. You're not able to make one hair white or black unless you dye it, of course. So what does he say about that? Estode ologos imon ne uu. But let, the verb let, the word, I should have highlighted that. The word, this should be the red, not the word. But your word, the word of yours, be a ne, which is an adverb. Let your word be a yes, yes, and a no, no. And those are adverbs. To de perison, tuton ek tu poniru estin. And the is the subject, but the, or and the, perison, anything extra. But so I don't put the in there because you wouldn't say and the anything extra. You don't need it in English. So it's elated. So it's just and anything extra, and there is another preposition. The peri is around, so that means with the verb in the whole thing, anything extra. Two-tone of these is, and the verb is, ek is a preposition from out of, and the genitive of the possessive of the wicked one. Anything more is of the wicked one. So we went through a lot of the Greek here, kind of going over what we went through before, tying it in together, and then finding out about a vowel, how a vowel is different than an oath, and then how an oath is basically something we are not required to do any longer. James says that, and Jesus says that. Now, if they require you to say an oath when you go to court, there's nothing, it doesn't say but it says, but let it be a yes and a no and a no. But if they want you to swear by an oath, it doesn't say you can't. I don't think. It would be up to you to determine. I think there are some religious sects that don't allow you to do that. If you go to court, you can't swear on the Bible, make an oath on the Bible. So I guess it would be up to you to make a decision which way you think God would want you to do it, and hopefully that would make it for you an easy choice. Next section, an eye for an eye.